Hello everyone and welcome to the Blueprint Codex. I'm going to try and keep this as short as possible, but I want to give you a rundown of everything. I'm going to go into more detail later, but so that no one is overwhelmed or confused as we're getting ready to start the orientation and week 1, I want to just give you a rundown of what is everything you see here and how do you go about using it. So for anyone who does not know, I am Ashley. I'm the founder of The Reckoning Co., which is my business that is based off of the theory of the blueprint. And the blueprint and the blueprint trilogy is what this entire codex is based on. It is a channeled theory of consciousness that I was given during a very hard time of my life. Okay, so if you go over here to the Blueprint Codex on the right, you'll see Course Home, which brings you to this page. This is just a little rundown of what is this course, what is the structure meant to look like, and just a little basic intro. Then if we go down over here to the homeroom, we have the Codex framework. It says, read this so you're not overwhelmed or confused. Every time I add something new to the course, I also add it to this master list. So if you go through this list and you check everything off, you'll know if you've covered everything or what you chose, because there are choices, what you chose to forego or not cover. So preparation and review before starting the lessons. All of this needs to be not done. This isn't all work you have to do. A lot of it is just stuff you need to become aware of, or you need to read, or you need to look and see, okay, that's there, it's available. Okay, so in the homeroom section, before completing week 1, you'll need to read the welcome message and download, if you do not have it already, the Blueprint PDF. The paperback and the hardback copy, this is the proof. So it's the exact copy and paste of what those books are, page for page numbers and all is included in the course. So if you do not have a copy of book 1 of the Blueprint, I do recommend that you download that so you have it easily accessible. You also then review the release schedule. This is only important for the class that's starting on 10/10. After the initial round, all of the videos will already be up and they'll be up forever. But if you look at the release schedule is just letting you know when these are going to be out for the first time. They'll be out forever. They're not going away. You don't have to rush. You can do everything at your own pace. But the release schedule shows you when you can see it for the very first time. Now, you'll also need to choose a journal or a binder for your codex. I suggest graph paper. I feel like that gives the most creative expression. You can draw in the little boxes. It's easier to connect dots or whatever you want to do. It's also lined so you can write. So you can use any type of paper, but graph paper is my top suggestion. Then you need to review how to work with the codex and how to move through the codex. There's a short little text blurb, and then there is an audio recording of me kind of going over everything with you. And then that just kind of shows you what's expected of you, what's necessary, what's not, and how to do and find certain things. Then we go to complete the prompts in the section before we begin the self-check-in. You'll do this in your codex. It's a little questionnaire, and it basically gives you the foundation that you're starting from. This is very important to do because you want it to look back on. There'll be other things later that you'll be comparing to this, and if you don't have this filled out right from the beginning, it's a little different than if you were to fill it out a couple weeks in. So I really highly suggest having that before we begin page filled out and in your codex prior to starting week 1. Then also you'll review the Blueprint Codex Living Graduation Project. It's not anything you need to stress yourself out about. It's nothing that's going to take all this extra time. It's something that you're building week by week. And at the end, you have that to keep. That's your project. So it's essentially the work that you're doing weekly, but the way in which you're structuring it and putting it together is what makes it into your living graduation project. Then we also go into, if you do want to purchase the blueprint on Amazon, all of the links are available on the side. Then we also review, there's an optional format where you can do audio or video recording instead of a handwritten journal. So there's a page that you just need to review that goes over that. If you don't want to do audio or video recording, I recommend at least going and listening to the short audio in that section. That way, because I do talk about how you can mix and match and you don't have to do it all audio, all video, all written. You can mix and match. So even if you're like, I'd rather write, I would still listen to the audio and see if there's any desire to incorporate the different elements. But if you don't want to do that and you just want to write, more power to you. That's fine. Whatever way you want to do it. But that is available. And it goes over in that section how to stay organized and how to stay cohesive with what you're doing. Then we also talk about the optional refer a friend, receive $5 program. Essentially, it's very simple. When someone signs up, there's a referral box. If they put your first and last name, when I see it, I will send them $5, or I send you $5 to Cash App or PayPal whenever someone lists you as a reference. That's it. If you know someone sent in with your name and it's taking a while, you haven't gotten it yet, there is a ticket at the bottom of my stand store that you can fill out so we can make sure that I didn't miss getting you that $5. There's no limit to that. You can share it with as many people as you want and get as many $5 referral amounts as you would like. Okay. So we also then have, this is a requirement, absolute requirement. Please do not proceed with week 1 or the orientation week until this is done. Please. This is to review the mental health resources and support page. Again, this is required. You must review this page prior to beginning week 1. You must read the top of the page, scan and become aware of everything on the rest of the page, or fully read it is my top choice, but I know that some people don't always do that. So you need to read that top portion and then scan through the rest of it, and you must listen to the audio. This is a requirement, okay? Please do not proceed until that part is done. The mental health resources and support page. You'll see it over here, all the way at the bottom, right here. Okay. There's also a partnership option. If you are doing this with a friend or a loved one or a family member, this section that you'll see over here, Model 2, breaks down how to do this with a partner. If you're not doing this with a partner, if you're doing it by yourself, you can completely and absolutely disregard the entire section. Just zoop, put it up, forget it's there. If at any time you have someone joining you in the future, just put it back down and then you have your tools available. But if you are not doing this with a partner, there is not a single thing in this section that you're going to need. If you are doing this with a partner, you will need to look at this section very thoroughly before beginning. So complete this section only if you plan to or are considering completing the codex with a partner. Review Blueprint Journey as a partnership intro message. This just kind of breaks down what to expect when you're doing this as a duo. The next one, very important, foundational agreements for a blueprint partnership and check-in prompts. You must become aware that this resource is available if you are doing this with a partner. This is promises that you'll make to one another that will keep you on track throughout the course, because you'll be able to refer back to them and say, oh, remember that was a hard line for us, or That was something we agreed we would take a break if it got to that point. These are necessary if you are doing this with a partnership. The blueprint is never meant to sever any connection that's trying to heal. Okay. So if it becomes more of an issue to do this together, you'll need to do it separately or take a break. This will be the foundation that will let you know if you get to that point. Then we have the partnership readiness self checklist. This is also a necessity. This will tell you how ready, or if you're not ready, to do this together. This is your first piece of full honesty. Let's lay it out and see if we're ready or we're not. And then review and potentially complete. This is optional, but suggested. The Codex Partnership Promise, which is similar to those foundational agreements, but this is like a little bit more of an intimate stretch on it. Then we have the diploma information for partnerships. And essentially what this says is there's one diploma per purchase. If you are doing this as a partnership, I am willing to put either like a partnership name, like a Mrs. and Mr., Mrs. and Mrs., Mr. and Mr. last name, or both of your first names. It doesn't matter. And then we also have the Blueprint Partnership Communication Ticket. This is something that there's a PDF. You can print it, fill it out, and you can have it in your codex ready to go. This isn't to communicate with me. It's to communicate with one another. If you are having difficulty figuring out how to talk about something or how to bring something up, and you're doing this course with a partnership, this tool is basically like the easy button. Not easy, but it makes the communication begin because it gives you that starting point. Here's a ticket. You can review it and then let's go from there. That's what that tool is essentially meant to be. And then we have the Blueprint Partnership Weekly Reflection Quiz. This is optional. This is where we at, how we doing kind of check-in. And then you can print out a copy or you can create a template in your codex and then refer to that. And then if you look down here, we have the codex tools. This is, you just need to review it before week 1. You don't have to use all of it before week 1, but all of these tools are completely optional. There is the Dropbox library that you can save the link to, and essentially this is all the audio, all the images, everything, all the PDFs, all the books. If it's scattered anywhere throughout this course, it's all going to be on that Dropbox link in one playlist. There's also the included books available that are in the course log. Also, become familiar with the tools for deeper blueprint decoding. This includes the pattern log, the storyline map, the belief excavation tracker, mirror moments journal, desire and resistance tracker, and the evidence of becoming. What are these? These are optional little trackers that you can add to your codex if you want. So look at all of these and say, I feel like this one would help me. I feel like this one would not help me. And then add the ones, if any, that you feel like would help you on this journey to your codex. You don't have to add any of them. You can add all of them. You can add any number or sequence of them. Whatever would help you most without stressing you out. And if you do the pattern log and you do it in the beginning and then you miss a little bit and you do it in the end, that's fine. Just look at the data that you've gathered, and that's the data that's meant to help you right now. Don't use these to stress yourself out. We also have the psychological atlas, which is another thing that you can choose to add to your codex. Do you have to? No. Will it benefit you in some cases if you're someone who will benefit off of tracking that type of thing? Maybe. And if maybe is a yes for you, then add it. If it continues to work, keep doing it. If it just stresses you out, stop doing it until you feel called to look back at it. Also become familiar with the Shadow Codex and the Shadow Work tools. This is helping you explore your shadows from the perspective and lens of the blueprint with different tools that will help you do so. Then we also have the Tarot Codex Guidebook. This is essentially like book 2 of the Blueprint of Tarot, shortened way down. It's meant to be almost like a tarot guidebook that you'd get with a deck, but it's one that you're getting with the course, and it's meant to show you it from a blueprint type lens. There's also a tarot spread library that you can use the guidebook for if you need to. If you are not familiar with tarot, you do not have to use the guidebook. You can just use the tarot spread library, but there's a lot of spreads in there that will help you dig deeper if you choose. It's not required, it's only optional. If you choose, you can add that to your journey as well. Then we have the Blueprint Life Inventory, which is a complete guide to mapping your current reality. We did something similar to this up top here. However, this one digs way deeper. If you have the time and you want to, this is something that you can do. Obviously, you don't have to finish it before week 1, but this is something that you can do to kind of, instead of just GPSing the map like we did above, this is like creating the whole layout of it. And then there's also the emotional blueprint map, which is kind of the same, but for your emotions. It's a deep dive into your emotions. And this here breaks down the different emotions that you may experience while going through the course and what they're tied to, what they could mean, what they link to. So if there's any that you feel are missing, I did link the suggestion box, and if you let me know, I will be happy to add other emotions to that blueprint map. Also, then you'll decide if you would like to create, again, optional, the Living Oracle, which is you building a deck of your own truths. This is something that it kind of goes through how to jot down different keywords or different phrases or different signs and symbols that you'll experience throughout the journey. And if you would like, you can create either a list of these, or one of the suggestions is to get index cards and fill out the index cards as you go and create your own traversing through the blueprint oracle deck. And then by the end, if you do 1 a week or 2 a week of the cards, and by the end, you'll have a decent little deck that you can use to further your journey after the course itself. Other optional things, again, not to stress you out, they're just available if you would like to do them. You can do these later. You don't have to do them while you're doing the course. You can finish the course and then come back and be like, oh, I'd like to do that now. Okay, so don't feel pressured to do everything at once. It's just all available because I know some people will resonate more with building an oracle deck. Some people will resonate more with really digging into that emotional map. Some will really like mapping out the whole life. You know what I mean? So that's why everything's available. You don't have to feel called to do all of it. So the living poem, you can add that to your codex, and that's essentially the same thing. You build a little bit of it each week, the living poem. And then we have the blueprint visuals page, which this is where I'm going to upload any drawings that I do, anything else that would visually represent the blueprint in any way will be there. We also have the weekly codex page. So this is essentially a weekly check-in. You can add a template to your codex, and then every week, or if you want to do a bi-weekly, you just refer back to the template and fill in new answers for this. Then we have the weekly blueprint debrief. kind of the same, but more of like a breakdown rather than a spread out version of it, if that makes sense. And then we have the Codex playlist and the Shufflemancy practice, which that talks about kind of similarly to the poem and kind of similarly to the Oracle deck. This is you build a playlist as you go through the Codex. Now we have the audio, video, and PDF libraries. All you need to do is review this before week 1. Now, if you go through the course, you'll see the audios and the PDFs and everything spread out throughout the course. These libraries are just where I put them as I upload them. So they're also wherever it makes sense that they would be in the course, but similarly to the Dropbox playlist, they're also all in one place. There's an audio, a video, and a PDF library all separate. So that's all that is. There's nothing in those libraries that aren't also somewhere else in the course. And there's nothing anywhere else in the course that's not also in that library. Then we have the optional extra credit mini projects. So you could look at those and see if there's anything that you would like to add to the Codex. And then we have the Codex message board. Now, this is important because this is where I add, basically think of it as like a loudspeaker at a school. I added in there when I uploaded different videos that you could watch prior to orientation week. I will let you know when there's different things happening, or when we're preparing for graduation, or when there's a big milestone that someone submits. That will all be on the message board. Now we go down to the images to color and trace. Being that one of the choices here is to, have a handwritten journal, I figured it'd be cool to kind of have some things that are blueprint coded symbols or signs or pictures that either you can print or you can just kind of look up at the computer and trace them easily into your journal. So that's all that is. It's just different symbols that I come up with throughout the way that are related to the blueprint, and something that if you wanted to add a little art to your journal and you didn't know what to draw, you can choose from this list. Now, the Codex Classroom Tools. This is important. This brings you to links that are listed on the bottom of my stand store. Now we have the Codex Student Question Box. This is for current students to ask a question about the course. There is a level of urgency in there, like I can't move forward unless you answer this, or I'm just kind of curious. There's all of that as a choice in there, and I will get back to you as soon as possible with that. We also have the student suggestion box. If you feel like there's something that would be helpful in the course, if you feel like there's something that's confusing in the course, please let me know and I will do whatever I can to help clear that up. We also have the student milestone submission box. This is for current students. If you are going through the week and you're like, wow, the blueprint really showed up like this, or a lesson that I learned from unpacking my blueprint allowed me to do this, or since I started the course, this happened. We would love to hear about it. Please tell me. This is where you can do that. This is the milestone submission box. On that same message board, I will be doing periodically some of the milestone submissions. On that milestone submission, it does ask, can I share this? Can I share your name? All of that. So if you don't want me to share it and you just want me to know, that's also an option. Then we have the Codex graduation form, which that's not available yet. That will be available for the first time on my birthday, 12/27. And that is the date because the final week of this first round is made available on 12/26. Then we have the Codex referral payment request form. This you only need to fill out if it's taking a while and you haven't gotten your money yet. If I owe you $5 or 10 or 15 or 20, it wouldn't get that high without me seeing it. But if I owe you money and I haven't gotten to you and it's been a minute, you fill out this form and I'll be sure to get it to you. Remember, they do need to put in your name when they are filling out their registration. Now, there are optional quizzes here. These are things that you, not quizzes like I'm testing you, quizzes like you're reviewing yourself. Okay, so not quizzes like I need to study or I'm going to fail. Not that at all. Quizzes like which perspective am I being called to see myself from, and how do I see myself from that view? So these are optional things that you can also add to your codex. Then we have the Tarot Spread Library, which we talked about above. It's essentially book 2, Blueprint of Tarot, smushed and given to you as a reference guide. Then we have the Library of Parables. Now, this is probably my favorite part of the course, if I'm going to be honest with you. I love parables. If you followed me for a while, you'll notice that I often kind of speak in that type of format. So all the blueprint lessons and perspectives I am putting in parable form, and I'm adding as a library. This is optional, but for all of them, there is a little written blurb about them. And then I also am reading them as an audio. So there's the option to read it, there's the option to listen. But essentially, these are lessons that I'm trying to put in a blueprint coded perspective, because as you're unpacking the blueprint, hearing these lessons in that way, it'll crack something open in a different way, is the intention. So Library of Parables, I highly recommend checking it out, maybe clicking on a one that you feel called to, looking at the title and just click it and give it a listen. We also have the Blueprint Dispatch, which you can think of this like a newsletter or a newspaper. This is, again, optional. You do not need to do it, but if you would like to read through different perspectives or different little tangents that I go on, that's where you can find that. So you can think of that as the Labyrinth newsletter. Then we have the Codex Digital Oracle Deck. Now, if you look down here, it's always going to be all the way at the bottom. Okay, see, right here. See how you can see it only says Codex Oracle message over and over and over, and you're probably like, what is this? Why are you doing this? Think of this as the back of the Oracle card, okay? All of the cards have the same back so that you don't know what's on the front, right? That's what I did here. These are different little messages that you can click on and see. This is like, you are not pushing yourself toward change. Your future self is pulling you forward. Align with that gravity. And then the affirmation is, I am drawn towards the highest version of myself. So all of these Oracle messages are similar to this. It's that same setup, but I put Oracle message for all of them so that you won't know what they are. And I also am going to go in and periodically rearrange these so that you can't be like, oh, I can't click on 3. I clicked on 3 last time, because 3 is going to be a different one next time you click on it. So once a week, I'm going to go in and I'm going to shuffle these around and rearrange them. I also am going to add more, but that's what that is the little Oracle deck message. Okay, so after you have reviewed all of that, picked what you want in your codex, decided where you want to focus, then and only then are you ready to complete all of the weeks. So again, these dates that are here are just the first time you're going to be able to access it. And again, I cannot stress enough, this is completely and utterly go at your own pace. If you start on 10:10 and you get to 10:17 and that next set of videos comes out, next set of audios comes out, next set of text comes out, and you're like, I'm not ready to move past week 1, please don't. You move forward when you are ready to move forward. Everything here is yours forever. I'm not going to ask you for more money for it. I'm not going to take stuff away. So there's no need, zero need to rush. There is every reason to take your time and move at your own pace, because that's how you're going to get the most out of it. I expect very few people to all end this on the same day. And that's by design. And that's okay. That's how it's meant to be. That's why there's not one ultimate graduation ceremony, because you're coming home to yourself. Okay, so now each week entails the following. We have the opening transmission, which is something that you'll read through and listen to, sets the tone for the week. Then we have the core teaching, which is something that, again, read and listen to before or in the beginning of the week. And then we have the daily micro practices, which this is something that doesn't take long. It's a small thing that you do every day. Each day is a different thing, and it comes with a different audio. And this develops you showing up for yourself, that discipline, okay? So it's something very small, but its impact is very big. And then we have the deep dive ritual of the week. This is like an hour or two. If you feel called to go along with this part of it, it's something that you can do once a week. And this just gives you a deeper emotional, psychological, intellectual perspective after you've already broken the surface with the daily micro practices and the core teaching and all of that. Then we have the manuscript milestone, which is essentially the piece that you're putting into your graduation project each week. And then we have the closing reflection, and if you chose to do any of the weekly check-in prompts in your codex. There's also a mini workbook section that you can complete in between weeks, or you can do throughout the week. I would recommend doing those workbook sections. If you want to do it not during the week, I would recommend doing the week after. So learn the lesson or get the perspective, and then the following week do that workbook page if you want to add that in. And then you can also just review and flip through your codex daily or weekly. You can use it like an oracle. You can open to a random page. What do I need to explore more today? What may be popping up for me this week? You're creating these different layers for yourself. Feel free to use your authority to take this tool that you're creating and use it for the most. Use it as an oracle. Use it as a guide. Use it as a reminder. Use it as a promise to yourself. You get out of it what you put in. And then we're going to end with the closing ceremony. And essentially, there's going to be a self-check-in at the end that you'll compare to the one that you did in the beginning, because hopefully you'll do the one in the beginning, and then you can compare them. That is a profound moment. So don't sell yourself short of that moment by not completing the initial check-in thoroughly, honestly, and with depth. Again, the more you put into it, the more you get out. So fill in that initial check-in so that when you look back on it at the end, you've given yourself something deep. Okay, that's why these 2 pages are there. And then we have the final artifact creation page in the codex, which is essentially like a nice little gift to yourself towards the end of the journey. And then the graduation form will be open on 12/27. After 12/27, it will be open forever. And the graduation form is just something that you fill out. And then once you fill that out, I will send you your certificate of completion for the course. Now, again, if you look over here on the right, this is the breakdown of everything. So the course home brings you here. Homeroom brings you to all these links. Remember, the mental health resources and support page is required before starting week 1. Must review the entire page, okay? There's all these different hotlines. It talks about when to consider reaching out for help. It talks about why it's important to reach out for help. It talks about what to do to ground yourself when big emotions come up. Reminder about pacing yourself and not rushing through something when you need a break. We just go through absolutely everything. There's also a support plan that you can come up with as a promise to yourself. This is something that I highly suggest doing. There's different safety actions that you can also put in here. There's a stop agreement. So if I get to the point where I feel like this, I promise to stop. Okay. If you've dealt with any mental health challenges, especially, please look at all the resources on this page before considering. Sometimes just knowing that it's there is enough, because you'll be able to be vulnerable enough to engage with the material while still knowing that these things are in place and they are available. We also have, if you're doing this with a partner, there's also mental health resources for the partnership as a whole, okay? And then these are all different suggestions for that. And then down here at the bottom, this is where you'll always find the different MP3s, PDFs, all of that. Down at the bottom, we have the emergency support plan. You can download it as a PDF. This is the same thing that you just saw above, but you can print this one out. Okay. There's also a partner support plan that you can print out, put in your codex. And then this is a required audio. Number 31 is a required audio. You can get it here, you can get it in the audio library, or you can get it in the Dropbox link. It's all the same, but audio 31, mental health resources and support. Please, 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 in respect to the course, please listen to that audio before beginning. So over here on the side, you can collapse these lists by pushing that little arrow, and that'll make it go away and get out of the way. Okay, so then we come down here. The orientation week already has one thing up, okay? So this is before we step into the labyrinth. I kind of break down everything for you, what to know before we begin, how to prepare your nervous system, how to clarify your intention. There's the inner weather check-in assessment if you would like to take that. You deal with your mental state, emotional state, energetic state, and there's different scoring here that can kind of tell you where you're at. There's also audio down here that you can listen to for the orientation week, and that inner weather check-in that was above, you can also print that out as a PDF. Then we have all the codex tools right here. I'll just show you. Let's look at the psychological atlas. So essentially, it explains what the psychological atlas is, and then it has it right here for you. So you can put it in your codex if you want. There will also be a PDF to print out of that, of all of these things as well. The audio library, again, you'll see all of the audio has a time next to it, so you know exactly how long that audio is before even clicking on it. Let's say you're waiting for the train and you're like, oh, cool, I got 7 minutes. Let me listen to this check-in. Or, if you're looking at the parable, okay, cool, I got 5 minutes. The key in the mirror is 4 minutes. Let me click on it. It'll bring it into here. There's a little description. It tells you the exact length of the audio at the bottom. And then you can click on the MP3 and it'll bring you right there. You can also find this in the Dropbox. You can also find this in the Parable library. So that's essentially how it works. Everything is in different spots and in different layers. That's why there's so much here, because I want you to be able to access what you need the moment you need it. And when you step into this labyrinth and everything is available in different sections and different perspectives, you get what you need when you need it. So then we just go through, these are the libraries. We have the audio library, video library, PDF library here. and I just called these like aisle. Like this is the support forms aisle. So when you click on the support forms aisle, you have all the different types of support forms: emergency support plan, partner support plan, communication ticket, partner promise. Okay. And then we have the tarot guidebook aisle. This one has the entire printout of the tarot guidebook. Then we go to the extra credit projects over here, and you can just kind of click on them and you can see it breaks everything down for you on how to do it and how to add it to your codex. Then this is the codex message board that I was talking about. You'll see how I have orientation audio here. So there's a lot. This is everything that I've added that you can listen to pre-orientation week. This does not include the parables. Those are only at the bottom and in the audio library. But anything here is stuff that's going to help you understand the course and what you're doing and how to navigate things. Then we have entering the labyrinth. This will be available on 10/10, and then it will be available forever. It'll stay up there, but it'll be available for the first time on 10/10, all of the info for week 1. Then we have the Codex Classroom tools. This just brings you to those links we talked about. These are the quizzes that we talked about. This is the Tarot Spread Library. We have a bunch in there so far. There's 31 in there so far, but essentially Blueprint Dialogue Spread. Let's look at that one. It's just going to break down all the different questions, and then it's going to give you codex or mirror journal prompts at the bottom. Then this is the Library of Parables. This 000, this explains what is this section, why does this section exist, and then you go into all of these. The Garden of Echoes, it says this one's 4 minutes. This is a little explanation of it. This is the entire breakdown of it, and then this is 4 minutes, 19 seconds, and you can click on the MP3 and it'll bring you right to it. The Blueprint Dispatch, this is the little newspaper article section. There's also an audio with it. The audio is not the same as this. It's a little bit more depth. This is 3 minutes and 9 seconds, and you can just click on the audio at the bottom. Then again, we go into, this will always be at the bottom because it's always going to be very long. I moved this by accident. But this is always going to be at the bottom because it's always going to be very long. Again, this is the Oracle messages. They all say Codex Oracle message on purpose. Think of it as the back of the card. And then again, I have to move this up. It's meant to be up one, but this is all of the different outlined images. This is the welcome and intro section. So these are symbols or images that you would relate to the beginning of the journey. Okay. And then as we go through the different chakra gates and the different centers, they'll all have their own folder as well. But let's just see cap with justice scale, and then it'll just download it for you. So that is a breakdown. I hope that that was helpful. Please let me know in the suggestion box or the student question box if there's any questions or a need to break anything else down further. I will be doing videos going through each section as well, but please let me know if there's any additional breakdowns that would help make this more fluid for you. Please remember, again, if you are part of the class that's starting on 10/10, if you are registered by 10/10, you're going to be in the running to win one of 2 paintings that I'm going to be doing as an art piece as we go through the course. I will be showing myself doing this as kind of a side quest or a side project that you can feel absolutely free to do alongside me as well. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. It truly means the world. This project has been a very long time in the making, and I'm honored to share with all of you.